All right, I'm going to go ahead and keep going. And when your comments come into the chat, I will read them out. So, I am Adaeze Iloeje-Udeogalanya, the founder of African Women in STEM. So, our mission at African Women in STEM is to empower the women in our community to take ownership of their careers, reach their full potential, and pay it forward. So, our topic today, which is a very exciting topic, and I'm excited to be having this conversation. This is definitely a good time to have this conversation. So, our topic today is Innovate, Adapt, Thrive, African Women in STEM, and the AI revolution. So, I'm hoping that when you hear the word revolution, you don't freak out. It's going to be all good today. That's the whole point of having this conversation. So our world is rapidly changing, and it's being driven by this, some may call it unprecedented wave of artificial intelligence. Companies, big and small, are putting a lot of resources into AI and generative AI, right? And I read an article by, I think, Tech Jury that they say about 35% of companies are already using AI, and 42% of companies are exploring using AI in the future. And it's also been reported that about 91% of leading businesses invest in AI on an ongoing basis. So this is really a big deal. So that means that our professional world is facing like a really radical shift. Traditional roles are evolving, new roles and new opportunities are emerging. Someone said something earlier in the week that there's certain roles that never existed a year ago, 9 months ago, that do exist right now. And we know that there are certain roles that do exist now that may not exist again in the future. So this is definitely bringing about change. So it's no longer enough to just keep pace with the changes. We need to be able to innovate, adapt, and thrive to be able to succeed in our careers. So the AI revolution presents a great opportunity for African women in STEM, for women in STEM, for all professionals to carve out their niche. So this is like all new. So you can actually create a new career for yourself or a new opportunity for yourself, be able to disrupt some of the established patterns and make a lasting impact in your industry and the world. So it's great to have our perspectives, ideas, and our leadership, especially for people that typically their perspectives are not either heard or valued or appreciated or actually out there in the open. But it gives you an opportunity to bring in the diverse perspective into the development and to the application of AI and to make sure that it's equitable and it benefits everyone. So before I bring in my guest, I'm going to go ahead and read. So we have Indudeka from Houston, Texas, and we have Chantel Phillips. And I'm going to invite my guests. So joining me today is Dr. and I'm going to say doctor again, Tammy Francis. So I've known Tammy for a couple of months now, and I'm going to say she's a gift to the world. She's running a lot of initiatives that help to support the new world of work and create transformation. So I'm really happy that she's here today. I'm thrilled that she's here with us to chat about this very, very important topic. So Tammy, you're welcome.
Thank you so much. I thank you so much for having me here today. I'm excited about this conversation and more so the impact, like just getting people to start thinking about what's next and how they can position themselves. I'm really big on how you can position yourself with these emerging technologies, and AI is the current one that we're talking about. So I love this. Thank you.
I'm excited. I'm even more excited right now. So I'm going to go ahead and read your bio, your amazing bio. So Dr. Tammy Francis is the catalyst and the founder of Catalyst for Change Global LLC. She's also the co-founder and chief strategy officer for UTD. I hope I pronounced that correctly. She's a global educator. She's a strategist, consultant, author, and speaker. So Dr. Tammy has taught for over 23 years in grade 6 through 12 and in higher education. So Dr. Tammy helps people move in the direction of more and prepare for what's next at pivotal moments and true career transitions with purpose on purpose. Dr. Tammy has a holistic approach to learning and development. She helps you leverage opportunities of the digital economy and emerging technologies. Dr. Tammy helps you create a strategy to upskill, reskill, retool, and provide access to resources to assist your transition and growth. Dr. Tammy helps others remain competitive during digital transformations. She also empowers and equips leaders, entrepreneurs, educational institutions, and business startups all over the world with purpose driven creative business solutions. Dr. Tammy is a futurist and she prepares the future of business, prepares people for the future of business, the future of work, and the future of education and learning. So definitely, you're the right person to have here today. I'm excited. I'm really excited. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the questions. But before I do that, I want to let everybody on this call know that we want this to be interactive. So if you have any comments or any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. We will take the questions at the end, or if you're very interested, we take them somewhere in between. And we'll also love to have your feedback and your comments. I do know some people may have issues with comments, but if not, you can always put it in my DM. I'll try to check that too to read them out. So let's get started. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay, okay. All right, so first off, how is AI shaping the future of work, particularly for African women in STEM?
So this is really interesting. You're asking that because it goes beyond just AI, right? It goes into what has happened in the last 3-4 years, right? The pandemic really created this um, di- uh, there was this big difference between women and men, right? In the employment. It created this gap of 62% plus for those that became unemployed. And AI, along with these other emerging technologies, are creating an opportunity for us to position ourselves and really get in the what I quote unquote the game, right? And really position ourselves to um, take on some of these positions that will really transform and move what we're doing right now. And so AI is now the latest and hottest thing, even though it's been around for a very long time, since the 1950s, but it's now with the chat GPT kind of, brought it to the forefront. And so now there's so many jobs, like there are about 90% potential employers who are looking for someone who knows AI, who knows about this technology. And so, this is a great way for us to start thinking about what is it that I do? What is it that I enjoy doing? What is it that I want to do in the future? Because, me, I'm about moving in the direction of more and preparing for what's next. So even what is your vision and your goals? So you can then see, like, how does AI play into that? So this is a great time for us to start thinking about how the job market is changing and how we can position ourselves using AI, utilizing and leveraging AI.
That's amazing. That really is. And when you mentioned 1950, I mean, I know AI has been around for a while, but I didn't think it's been around for that long.
Yeah.
And definitely, like you said, ChatGPT kind of brought it to the fore for a lot of people that are not like in tech or not ordinarily aware of it. But we do know that a lot of things that have been utilizing AI for a while. So thank you for sharing that. And so moving forward, what are some specific ways that AI can be leveraged to advance women's careers and opportunities in the future of work? I know you made mention of how women were impacted, like a couple of
Mhm.
years ago during COVID. But how can they leverage this emerging technology, new technology, to advance their careers in the future of work?
So that's a great question. However, I don't know if my answer will be what everyone is thinking. So, because I know we're talking specifically about AI, but when you're thinking about AI, you got to think a little bigger than that. How can I reskill? How can I upskill? Or how can I retool using this technology? And some of you are asking, what is the difference? What does this mean? So to reskill mean you learn a totally different, learn a new skill. So maybe you were doing one thing and you want to transition to a new company, to a new job, a career that's totally different. To upskill means you're going to add to the skills that you have. Many of us can just upskill. Many of us just need to add knowledge and education of artificial intelligence to our repertoire. And then to retool, sometimes it's the softwares. What are you using to do your job? So maybe it's actually the implementation of using artificial intelligence. And the different, there's so many different options out there. We only hear about one lately, but there's so many other software that uses artificial intelligence. But maybe seeing which one of those fit into what you're doing and focus on that. And so I think when we're thinking about how does this play into me? How does this fit into what I'm doing? Is to really think about what is it I want to do? Do I want to do something totally different? Am I not happy where I am? Do I want to learn a whole new job, a new skill? Because then you'll look at AI a different, then it's a different lens, right? Than if you just want to add to your skill. Because many of us will want to add. So I'm an educator. So I may say education and AI. I may do a simple search and see what's available out there and see I can, what types of jobs, what things are going to be viable in the future in that particular industry. And so, whether it's healthcare or sales or whatever you're in, maybe you're a content writer, you can do the same thing and see how is what are some of the use cases right now of how people are leveraging that technology. And but you have to know definitely what your goals are first, right? What do you want to do? What is it that you think you really need to focus on? Because this can get overwhelming. You can go down a rabbit hole and you can just kind of go and start uncovering all these things and get overwhelmed. But if you have a focus, and that's why a lot of what I do goes with purpose. Like you've got to go back to your purpose. You got to make sure it's in alignment with who you are and where you're going. And then you can best decide on which way to focus. Doesn't mean you're not going to focus or pay attention to some of the other things, but at least it gives you a starting point. But I think one, set goals. Two, decide what it is you want to do. Do you want to stay where you are? Do you want to move? Is there something else you want to leverage? Because some of the jobs and careers that are now available that AI is really impacting are really moving into high paying jobs and transforming those. Or is it that you just need to learn the software so you can use it with what you're currently doing? So there's ways to position yourself. You just got to decide what that is. And I think that you should explore, explore all of them, but definitely do some searches and figure out what that is. And I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, that's perfect. And I like how you simplified it. Basically, like when you, because I have gotten overwhelmed just trying to figure out where do I start with this? Because like you said, it's new. It's you kind of feel like you want to know everything all at once.
Yes.
But like you said, determine what's your goal in life, what's your purpose, where do you want to take this, and then just once you know that, you can just do AI plus whatever it is. It narrows your search, it narrows your focus, and it helps you like at least start from somewhere. And if you discover something else you want along the line, you can always move on to that. But that simplification is amazing. So thank you so much for that. So I know we talked about what you could do, like figuring out your purpose and deciding what you want to do, but some people might be like, I still don't understand,
Yes.
what skills do I really need to focus on? Because I know that there's some things that might apply to your particular career, but there's some things that applies across board. Like for example, the things that we're going to start using, then the way we're going to start using them. Perfect example, computer, internet, things like that. So what skills should professionals focus on developing if they want to stay relevant and competitive in this market?
So, a lot of people think about the hard skills and they think about like just learning how to work, like getting an account on one of the AI software and actually plugging it in. Yes, you need to know, how to use it. And you need to know how to talk to it, right? So part of those skills, excuse me, is learning how to talk to it as well, right? And so some of those skills are there, but you also need some of the soft skills, right? Knowing how to communicate, knowing how to the leadership skills and some of those other things that are we don't really think about. So when you think about the things that you want to do, you got to think about not only the hard skills but the soft skills as well. And there are several when you look at the jobs, yes, you need some of the basic things, and I always start with education. Like education, guilty, that's my lane. I always think that you should start with education. So find a program or a certification program, a course that you can take there right now. Let me just say, right now, unlike in probably 2 or 3 years, there are many people who are still feeling their way through offering courses and certifications for free and a really small fee. And now
Mhm.
you can take part of that. And this is a good time to start there, like learn the basics. Now, I will say, I typically I'm biased. So I think that you should learn about some of the other technologies as well, like blockchain technology. Some of those things that AI actually interacts with. And I think that not only some of those other things, like just don't think, oh, AI, and I wanna be a prompt engineer and I want to be able to do this and the skills that are related to that. The
Mhm.
other thing is, once you know what you want to do, search a job description and see what's on that list and decide, do you have those things? Because sometimes if it's a goal of yours, it will tell you what you need to start looking at, what you need to start exploring more of. Maybe there's some of these skills that you notice that, oh, three of these jobs that I've looked at that I would really want to apply to, they're saying I need XYZ. They're saying that I need some kind of tech processing. I need to know about data. I think cybersecurity is a great avenue to look at, that we all need to explore, because data and privacy and how that is addressed in this Web3 space that AI falls under. I think all of that is important. And so you can see like what those job descriptions, because it's different for everyone. And I hate to say that it's a certain ones in particular. Of course, you need to know what AI is and what it does and how it works. But beyond that, look at the job, because if you're a content writer, it'd be very different from an engineer. And so, but look at those jobs. But I always say, do your research, right? Go and look at the job and see what are those skills that they're needing. What are the required, right? Because those are the ones you want to have. And then the preferred, because that will be the ones that you can leverage to really set you up and stand out when you're seeking a job or you're interviewing or you're looking for those type of things. So,
That is great. And I just thought of something as you were talking, which is for professionals that are upskilling. Because I'm thinking some professions they may be out there, but requirements as it applies to AI may not be very obvious.
right.
So if you're trying to kind of like predict the future in a sense, how would you do that? Because we all know we're moving in that direction. Like you said, all the things that AI interact with, like blockchain and so on, we're moving in that direction. In a couple of more years, we're talking about more things. So if you're sitting here trying to think, okay, I don't see, for my position or whatever it is, I don't necessarily see anything, but how can I just kind of predict what might be needed and just start getting myself ready? What would your advice be for that person?
Okay, so I don't know if there's a right answer to that, but what
Yeah.
I do know is what I've done is I saw, we always talk about the tea leaves. You see it written in the tea leaves. I saw it written on the wall what was going to be big. I had people like us, right, talking about some of these things. I had friends, very good friends talking about it. And so what I did was I just started learning that thing. So, like for us today, I would just learn what that is. And like there's so many courses that are offered right now that are teaching you what it is and how to use it. Just start with the basics, right? Because then later you can see, like, how does this connect with what I'm doing? And you can search it on, you can do what we do now in the Web2 space. You can do a Google search for job. You can even do it on LinkedIn. We're on LinkedIn right now. You can even do it here. Do whatever your current position is, your current skill, or even a skill, because now we're moving, transitioning to more skills based. And so we're talking about jobs and employment. So search that job or the skill, and then whatever technology. So in this case, it'd be artificial intelligence, and see what's out there, because you'll find even articles that will project what 2025 or 2030 will look like. Now, even though they're doing the projection that it's going to be that far out, I think it's going to be sooner. So that's a personal thing. But you can at least kind of see what the trend is, where things are moving. But if you're like, I was in education and I was thinking, education is always behind in technology. And so we're always last to implement the latest and greatest technology and really catch on to it and use it in a way that can benefit students. And so what I did was, okay, I knew that. So I didn't hear the buzz, I didn't hear the talk about it. And at the time, blockchain technology and cryptocurrency was really hot. And I didn't hear any of that being discussed on my campus. But what I did know was that I needed to learn those two things. So that's what I did. So I took a blockchain studies. Entered the blockchain studies program. I learned more. I joined some communities about cryptocurrency. So there are several things that I encourage people to do. There's basically five things before you get to the implementation that I encourage people to do: education, exposure. So get exposed to this. So conversations like this, just eavesdrop on our conversations. Even if you don't want to comment in the chat, we'd love for you to comment in the chat. At least tell us where you're joining from. Just a little plug there. But um, but but definitely just start listening to the conversation and the language of the space, right? Um, experience. So get experience. So maybe look at these AI, the different AI softwares, decide on one, maybe that has a free trial or that's free right now, and just set up an account and just play with it, right? Do some things like that to get experience. And then community, join a community. So we have African Women in STEM. This is a great community to join and be a part of, because you'll hear some of the conversations, posting of articles, things like that that may help you understand what's going on in the landscape. And maybe one of those things that's posted will be connected to what you do. So being a community and just in conversation, I think is really important. And then, I should have said this one first, but I didn't. But of course, purpose, right? Just knowing what the purpose is. Is your purpose just to be a part of the conversation and to be on the forefront? And so you want to hear these conversations, or is it really to just dive in? Like, what does that look like for you? And so those are the five things that I encourage people to do when you are in a place where I don't know, where do I start? What's next? I have no idea, is to think about those things. And I probably should make it a cool acronym, but I haven't. Maybe cease. Maybe cease would be the one. Cease sitting on the sideline. See community, experience, exposure, and maybe that's it. And of course, the last one is a strategy, right, for implementation. Like, what is your strategy? Is it just going to eavesdrop on the African women in STEM community and just hang out there and maybe talk with some of the ladies? Maybe if there is a webinar or something that's offered, a live broadcast like today, join it. What is that? What does that look like for you? So those are kind of the things I tell people to think, is not to get overwhelmed with, oh, I gotta be a coder, I gotta be a developer, I gotta know this technology like that. It's just about being aware of it, knowing the risk and the rewards, right, of it. Because we haven't really talked about the risk, but there are some concerns around AI. And so those are things you want to be aware of so you can protect yourself and you can be aware of it. And the more you know, the more you can enter conversations, right? A lot of what I talk about is conscious conversations and being a part of conversations. So even if someone is having a conversation, you can enter that conversation easily because you know the basic information about it. You know what it is, how it works, the basic information, how it works. You know the risk and the rewards. You know those things so you can be a part of conversations, or you know the right questions to ask, right? To get to the information you need to choose the path that you want to take when you're choosing how you want to position yourself.
Well, thank you very much. I love the way you answered this question because, like you said, when it comes to tech, the first thing that people think about is I have to be this tech genius, the developer, the prompt engineer, and all of that. But the truth is that there's so many ways we can apply it. So find the acronym, but I'm just going to go ahead and read out what you had for us. So basically, you said figure out what your purpose is, the reason why, and then educate yourself, get exposed, get experience, find a community of people that will support you and help you move forward, which I'm all about community because it just makes life, work, business, everything easier because you're not doing it by yourself. And when you work together, people can always get things you don't know, and you actually find yourself giving things that you didn't even realize you had. And most importantly, having a strategy. You can have all these things, but you need a strategy to kind of be that thing that guides you to where you're going, helps you see the forest for the trees, and just move forward. So thank you so much for that. When you find the acronym that is perfect, let me know. I'll shout it out for
Okay.
sure.
Will do.
So I'm going to go ahead and ask this question. Can you share examples? Because, this is a community of African women in STEM. And a lot of times we find out 100 years after the fact that a woman developed something that we've been using and we thought a man did. But just because when they say representation matters, you can be what you can see. So do you have examples of, women, Black or African, that are pioneering like some AI initiatives and that may have transformed industries? I know I've seen some things in the past about women getting awards and so on, but if there's any that you can share, that would be really good.
That is a great question. And so I'm going to have to do some research because I will say when it comes to AI, it is so new. And when I say new, like new to our awareness, not new because it's been around for about 60, 70 years, right? But new to our awareness and such that this is a great time for you to be a creator, for you to create something. Especially African women, like this is a time for you to really decide, like, how do I want to play in this space and do it? And you could be the person that I shout out, right? And so I think you are that person at this point because you're having these conversations. This is the first conversation that I have been a part of that has been like this, like talking about artificial intelligence in this way to the world, right? I've talked about some in higher education and how we can use it like with curriculum, but not like how we can position ourselves and really use it and how not to be scared of it, right? To really embrace it. It's not going away. So how can we embrace it? So I really think that this is a great time for you and I to just do something and go with it. And then we'll be the ones that we say. And I'm not saying that there are not women out there, but I will say that I must be honest, like I haven't seen anything come across my feed or in my awareness that it's been like someone. I will say that there is in Houston, Texas. So somebody was from Houston, Texas, and I'm from Texas. I have a Sarah who has Black women in AI. I think that's it. I may have to look. Let me look it up because I will post it. But she has a group, and I think she is the one that's doing one of the amazing things with AI because she actually has a community and they're offering education around AI. So of course, as I sit here and think of this, things come into my awareness. But I just thought about that. So those of you that say I didn't know anyone, I do know at least one. But I will definitely give me a second. I'm gonna look and I'm gonna find it and I'll definitely share it, definitely in the comments after the broadcast. But she has a great community and they're even offering education, like they're partnering with different higher education institutions to offer some of the training and education around it. And so she has events that she hosts and all that. So Black women in AI, I know is exists and it's out there. And I'll probably have a few more that come into awareness. But what I'm saying is there's so few. Like this is a time to get in. This is a time to start thinking about how you want to position yourself.
And you're right about that because I said that in the beginning. Yes, AI, like you said, has been around since the 50s, but it's still kind of new to the rest of the world. So this is a really good time. I've seen some names come across my feed, but like you said, most of them haven't been doing this for more than just a few years.
Right.
And so it is really a good time if you have any kind of interest to get in, and you might be the one pioneering things, in your community as well. So, and thank you for shouting me out. But this is great. Because we've had a lot of conversations around this and the future of work in our community, and I feel that this is really important. And that brings me to, I'm going to pick Njideka's question because it kind of ties into what we're talking about right now. I'm not going to wait to the end to do that. So
Okay.
she was asking, is AI here to stay?
Yes.
Tech is unpredictable. So what do you have to say?
Yes, it's here to stay. It's been around. I mean, many people have been using it. When they talk about Alexa and Hey Siri and all these things, you've been using it. If you have any electronics in your home, you're probably using AI. Those lights that come on when you enter the room are not just there's things happening. There's tech. Tech is tech, right? And it's going to be constantly advancing and evolving. And even in the area of AI, some things have happened. There are some things that are shifting in even in with it because once it launched, it was just pulling things from the internet. Well, it created all these lawsuits around intellectual property. So now they're having to adjust how it spits out things and do things. And so it's going to improve. It's going to be around. So yes, it's here to stay. It's going to look different. Um, and it's going to change, but it's going to be here. It's going to be here. So the
And
answer is yes.
exactly, like Tammy said, you're here on time, early enough, and you have a lot of time to actually like your take your time, take steps, explore, figure out what's happening, and you'd be amazing. You do great.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna move on to the next one. So this is basically all about you. So you do help people create strategies, like to reskill, which is basically learning a new skill, upskill, improving themselves, and so that they can remain competitive in this digital transformation, this AI revolution. So could you share some success stories, that exemplify how being strategic with your reskilling and upskilling have helped people to move their career forward? The people that you've worked with.
That's awesome. So there are, and so some of the people that I've worked with. So let's talk about those who are business owners. I'll talk about them in different categories, right? Business owners, they have really have addressed their customers' needs a little better because now they're thinking about technology in a way like how can they stay relevant and competitive. And I think with all of it, that's the same way, right? With all of us, no matter what you do, that's it, right? Is to remain relevant and competitive as you move it into the future. Right now, there's this digital transformation. It's happened and it's happening. And so while we're in the midst of that, we've got to think about ways that we can do that. And some have come out with a whole different product solution and created something. This is a great time to be a creator. So before you could create things, but someone else owned it. Someone else took ownership of it. Now you create it and you can actually maintain your ownership. There's things and technology in place that allows for that if you want to play and participate in that. And so there's some that have come up with product solutions that have really impacted different communities, especially those that are marginalized or at the margins, helping the different communities with their product solution, whether it's agriculture. I've seen some things in agriculture, oh my goodness, that people are doing to make sure that the quality products and that the people who are like farmers who are doing the work are actually getting paid, who are actually getting the benefit for their family because their children can't go to school, but other people's children are going to school that's benefiting from their products. And so now they're able to keep some of that revenue and do and send their kids to school. I've seen in real estate where people are creating solutions in real estate that's allowing um people to own property and keep property in their family to build a legacy. So the technology is doing a lot. AI more specifically is so new that I've had very few people that I have really helped one-on-one with AI. But when I think about all the emerging technologies that are out there, the meta, what we call Web3 technologies, the metaverse, NFTs, cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, all of those, even DAOs, I've seen some amazing things happen because this is a great time to one, learn, and two, to participate and decide how you want to participate. And I'm encouraging everyone to think of that participation as being a creator. What do you want to create and how do you want to impact the world? And so, and position yourself in that way. I've seen students who have now chosen majors who are in higher education have chosen majors that are now in this area. And so their earning potential has tripled and more because what the job that they were initially getting without that AI artificial intelligence experience was at maybe $50,000, $60,000 a year. And now most of those AI, any careers that are involving AI are now at 150,000 USD or 200,000 USD. And some of those careers, and some of them have really thought about what is it I really want to do? What is it I like? Because now you can be a data analyst, you can be a data scientist, you can be an engineer, a process data engineer. You can do all these things that now you probably wouldn't have been aware of, but now because they're in the forefront because the AI has done that, you're thinking about that. And we got to think about some of the jobs that are um, not necessarily going away, but will look very different. Like data entry clerks and translators and interpreters and technical writers and customer service reps, like some of those AI is really impacting. Um, and so those who I'm working with, we look at what are you doing and is that a possibility for you? Right? Is your what you're doing right now, can you be how will your job look different? I'm not going to say you're going to lose the job, although we're seeing that 23% of jobs are changing between adding and replacing, right? Because even though jobs are being replaced, there's so many being added. So you just got to look at the list of which ones are being added so that you can cling on to. So when I work with clients, we talk about that. Like, what does this look like for you? Or even what does your business look like? If it's an individual, what does your life look like right now? And what in your career? And how can you shift that or start preparing now for what it would be like in the future? And I'm telling people like it's a good time to prepare because I think 2025 will be a big shift. And so right now is a good time to take this next year and a few months to just learn, to just educate, just get educated around it. And so many of my clients were starting at that point of education. Like, which piece of education do you need? What do you need to learn more about? What is your learning right now, and what do you need to learn? And that's where we're starting. So, and that's what I encourage everyone else to do as well. But I will say that it's changing not only individual lives, it's changing communities. And that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing the impact is greater. And those that are typically underserved, underrepresented, and at the margins are now getting the things that they need and being able to sustain life, right? So now we're talking about sustainability and passing things on to generations. So now we're talking also about generational wealth.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And just kind of going back to Ndideka's question about if AI is here to stay unpredictable. This is one of those times, based on what you just said now, that knowledge is power. So if you're unsure, just like your advice, just learn, just educate yourself, and you can start finding things. But knowledge definitely is power. We don't stay in knowledge forever, but it's a good way to start. So thank you for sharing that. And I know you did mention this earlier, and Njideka also asked that, and so this is probably the best time to talk about this. So with every new thing, I know you mentioned some things about issues with ethics. So what are there's always some
Mhm.
while we're still trying to figure things out, we get some things wrong.
Right.
So I'm gonna kind of combine two things
Okay.
by asking you number one. So what are the potential drawbacks and disadvantages of the workforce, for example, becoming too dependent on AI? That's on one side. And then what are the ethical considerations or potential issues that might arise with integrating AI in the workplace and what we do?
So I think that right now, what I'm hearing is everybody's afraid, right? Oh, it's going to take my job. It's going to do my job. And I think some of the CEOs and C suites, they're having that same thing. They're trying to figure out, how to implement AI and whose job it can replace, right? To save them money, because it's all about the bottom line, right? And so when we're talking about the workplace, that's why it's important for us to be in control of our own destiny. And 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 I know that sounds cliche, but really to think about what is it you need to learn to be relevant and competitive. I can't say those words enough. And part of that is learning the technologies. So when the others make the decisions, you're in a position where you have options because you want options as an employee, as someone who works for someone else. As a business owner, you want options on how you can implement these things and what you need. I will say we will always need people. So that's not the concern, but it's this as how will AI impact the people, right? And the positions. And so that's what we need to be aware of. Some of the considerations or the potential risk that are involved is anything that society, anything that's a risk in society now is a risk with AI. So AI mirrors the societal risk. So if you can think of anything that can happen without AI, it can happen with AI. So that's when we talk about data privacy, things like that are happening. Um, Academic integrity. So I talked about intellectual property and plagiarism. So those things of people passing off content that's not their own. So those things and not referencing sources. And I'm really big on that because I'm a researcher. Maybe even inaccurate outcomes, right? The accuracy and the reliability of systems, because we're relying on people. You got to remember, when we talk about biases, when we talk about inaccurate outcomes, we're talking about this is technology, it's programmed. So, because it is programmed, it is people, which is why we need African women in STEM to participate. So, we have a diverse group of people who are doing this programming because that's the problem. Even the manipulation and harmful use. We've heard some of those stories already. If you've been online and just seeing some of the things and people, the fear that's associated with artificial intelligence and the things that people are putting out there, some of those are legitimate. But it's like, how do you, one, you got to get educated and know what the risks are. And that's why I also encourage you to also take a course or something in cybersecurity, like learn some of those things so you at least know how to protect yourself. Maybe not to teach it or to be the cybersecurity expert, but just so you know how to protect yourself and your data.
It's amazing that you mentioned cybersecurity because I think I've always moved it to the side because it's like one of those things I feel like is a Pandora's box. I don't even, or a black box. I don't even know what's in it. But it's been coming up a lot recently. And now that you're saying this, it makes a lot of sense why it's been coming up a lot recently because now we're talking about, like, say, data privacy and all those things that they typically protect, somewhere in the background in dark rooms where, with a hoodie and a mask. Not really, but you know what I mean. So now it's more in the forefront because, like you said, AI has been around, but in terms of the way we're utilizing it, all these apps that are coming out, people are just putting their information and just taking things without necessarily knowing where the information was pulled from or how to use it or how to research it and things like that. So I'm glad you brought that up. And I think I never thought about it, but it's a good idea to actually understand, a little bit about cybersecurity and how it can help you. And just kind of going off topic, especially now, if you have people in your life that were born with, I don't know, a MacBook in their arms and things like that, they're going to be moving ahead with these things. They easily adopt most of these new technologies, and you have to kind of keep up with the times to be able to at least, not be totally and completely lost when, they want to reach out to you to help. So I appreciate your answer. I appreciate your response. It's really very, very good. So I'm going to go ahead into some of your territory and maybe not so much. But right now, I know everybody's trying to figure things out. That now that everybody's kind of getting on the AI bandwagon, but what role in your opinion, do you think that government, educational institutions, even though you said they're always the last to adopt technology, and companies, so kind of like the big three in a sense. What role do you think they should play in kind of preparing the workforce for changes brought about by AI? And how can they collaborate? Because I know I've heard things about this. Of course, government, that's where we expect regulations to come from. The companies are the ones that push the technology, and education institutions, not only them, but they kind of represent the people that, like you said, educate and expose people to these things. So how do you think they can collaborate to make sure that we're kind of all moving forward in the same direction without too much friction?
And I think that the key word is collaboration. And right now, I think everyone is kind of in their silo, right? They're separate. And regulation is not necessarily bad if you are regulating the right thing, right? Sometimes the regulation is bad, is seen as bad because they're regulating the wrong thing because there's no education around it. So one, I think that the big things like the organizations, the institutions, the government, and those things is all in one about education and being knowledgeable about what it is you're actually regulating. What is it that you're putting policies and procedures around? Because I think that's where the error comes in, and that's when the implementation falls apart. And I've seen that so many times in education with different things, and that's when I know, like, it wasn't necessarily the actual law, it was the implementation. So we also got to think about how some of those things are separate and how they present themselves. And the collaboration, that's really interesting. I think the government is actually doing some things around, and I've seen a report that was put out. I guess in 2021 that the government did on AI around this. And so they are doing some of those things, but I think it's really involving the right people. So I think some of those collaborations are happening. I just don't think they have the right people at the table. Right. And maybe I'm biased because I think African women, Black women should be at the table. So I just think that the people that they typically pull from and that collaborate are the same people, the same voices. And I think it's about really looking at your constituents, right? Who are the people that you're serving and who are your stakeholders? And really, really reaching out beyond this immediate circle. And in Texas, we have this saying, the good old boy, right, philosophy, where you get all your buddies, right? Besides getting all your buddies, who else? And think about who's not in the room. And I always say that when I think about women, like when we invite women and we want more women involved in technology or STEM, think about who's not represented, not just the person, but the perspective, right? And I think that's what's missing when we talk about the collaboration of these things. Is sometimes the right perspective is not there. It's not a varied amount of perspectives at the table. That's what we need more of. We need more diverse perspectives. And diverse doesn't necessarily mean the color of your skin. There's so many different ways that diversity can show up. And that's what I don't think is happening. I see the same people offering their voices, and I don't see the reach out or the invitation to allow other voices at the table. So, like I say, I think I see those things happening. It's just not happening in the most effective way that's going to create the most impact and cause and create that collaboration you're talking about, that synergy where we're all speaking the same language, we're all on the same page, and we're all on the same mission. And that's the one to just be better and do better.
I like what you said, and it just kind of reminded me of this is someone I listened to yesterday. She was talking about how she more or less you say took charge of kind of her career. She stepped out of her comfort zone and made certain move, reached out to certain people, and kind of set a pace. So I think for us, maybe for people that are normally not in those spaces where those conversations are being had, for people that are normally not going to be tapped on the shoulder to come and join those conversations, maybe what we need to do now is actually step out. And if we do everything you said, Tammy, which is all the acronyms of, educate, inform ourselves, you get exposed, get experience, find a community, and that community will also give you the support and also give you the information so you're aware of what's happening and where it's happening, then we can actually step up. If you don't want to step up by yourself, step up with somebody else in your community and actually start asking the right questions, asking to be part of those conversations, providing, evidence of the things that you have. Because what do they say about something about you have to sometimes you just have to take the thing. I don't know how exactly to say it, but
Take the
maybe
bull by the horns. Let's
exactly.
go.
You're from Texas, so definitely you're gonna say that. But yeah, like you said initially, this provides a great opportunity for us to kind of step out of our comfort zone, step out of our norm, and just to kind of chart a path for ourselves and be amazed at the things that could come up. Because I know, like I said, I've seen some people that have been recognized in this field, some women and stuff like that, which under normal circumstances in the past, their names weren't mentioned. But they started having conversations, started talking about this, and people started noticing and calling them into the spaces to have this conversation. So thank you for bringing that up. I know definitely we have a long way to go, but it's not an impossible thing, and it's not, and we have an opportunity, to make a difference and create that
Absolutely.
diversity in
You
those spaces. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think the thing that you said, is really, we think about the big organizations collaborating, but I think it's really a starting with the individual and how can you impact this space? And I think one is when you join a community to also think about the collaborations. I think the future is really big on how can you collaborate with others and really multiply your impact. And so, what does those collaborations look like? And so, I'm going to encourage people to not only to start educating and get around it, but like you said, like to think about how can you collaborate in your community. Sometimes you have to start with the small seed to make impact on the big seed, on the larger community. And so I think that if we think of it like that as individuals, we can make an impact where we are. And that impact then multiply. I think of the ripple effect, right? And then that kind of, because then you'll join, you'll slowly start, as you're in this space, you'll start meeting people. And that's kind of how mine started. Like I just started, I'm going to educate. And then I started engaging in conversations and attending events and collaborating with people. And it just kind of caught on. And then it spread. And now it's global. And it was just starting where you are and not getting paralyzed by the thought of, oh no, this is too big, this is too much.
Thank you for that. And I'm definitely looking forward to a lot of things starting out based on this conversation that we're having today. So I'm excited for that. All right. So we're going to ask the last but not the least question.
Uh-oh.
Coming back. So for professionals, we talked about a lot of things, but I always like to leave people with one, two, three things that they can take
Mhm.
and move on and start doing right away. Because sometimes people hear things and they get like, okay, I don't even know where to start. So, what are the three things? I know you three steps that people can take right now
Mhm.
to actually start integrating, AI in their skill set and moving their career forward.
I gotta narrow it down to three. Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah, because I want them to actually do the homework.
this is what I encourage you to do. One is to research. Do a simple search. And I love giving homework. So this is right in my lane, but I actually have 5 things on my list. I'm trying to pick the top three that I want you to do. So one, research, and just research what you're doing now. Even if you may change, you want to do something different. Just get a feel for what's out there, because then you'll realize the literature and the research and the things that are out there and already available. Already available. Because that'll tell you that'll reinforce what we've been talking about today. And that's the encouragement to just dive in. So research your industry and artificial intelligence. Your a skill that you know that you would like to, whatever you do, that's the skill that you really love utilizing and tapping into. Like for me, it's teaching, educating. But anyway, but whatever it is for you, put that and artificial intelligence or whatever technology you want to learn more about. But artificial intelligence in this case. So one, do that, a simple search. Two, see what courses are out there. Start learning. Start educating yourself. Start reading. Now, I realize that some people don't have a lot of time, so taking a whole course or reading a whole book may not be your thing. But there are articles out there that you can read. Like Forbes is always doing articles on AI. And there's so many things. The World Economic Forum is always doing things about reskilling, upskilling, and doing things. So you can just read the reports. Microsoft even put out something about, the same thing, the future of work. And so you can just look and research even future of work. I hadn't said that term, but let me just say that explicitly, the future of work. That's something that you can do, but just start reading. And three, join a community, because I think the community, the other things that I want to say
you
will
can, you
be a
can.
part of that. Will be a part of that. I think that's where you can get the experience, exposure, the conversations. You could even start figuring out a strategy for implementing if you're in a community. So those other things that I want to say, that's part of my little acronym. But definitely do a search just to see where you are, right? Um, and part of that search will probably think about where you're going. So that'll get in my purpose. But do that search and then join a community and start learning. So figure out the best path for you. Is it reading? Is it joining a course? Is it a webinar? What are some things? I will put a few resources in the chat. I'll put some things in the comments. So if you're watching this video and you're on LinkedIn, definitely check the comments. I'll put some things where to get you started. Because one thing I know in this space, everybody always say do your own research, and never really should tell you how to do it. So
Yes.
I want to, and there are so many references and sources that are not credible. So I want to at least offer you somewhere to start to look. So, one, do your simple Google search, and then I'll provide a few resources that will have their own references that you can look up, and or a video that may give you someone to follow, and join a community. And I'm going to recommend one in particular: African Women in STEM. The link is scrolling across the page. So if you will just, follow that link.
I'll
um,
click on
check,
it. We're on
yeah,
LinkedIn.
just go on LinkedIn and put African Women in STEM, and you see the logo. Oops, it's over here. The logo, it will pop up, and join the community and just be a part of the conversation there, or even lend to the conversation. Because we've been talking about those who want to learn, but some of you may be experts. We
Mhm.
need you. If you
Yeah.
are African woman in STEM, if you are a Black woman, if you are a woman, we need your voice. And so, and if this is your lane and this is what you talk about. My lane is really the future of work, and I think about how you can leverage and position yourself. But there's some people that specifically AI, artificial intelligence, is where they play, and they actually may even created their own software. And so,
Mhm.
if that is you, we need your voice. So, join the community so you can also be a source of education and growth for someone else. So, yeah, those are my three.
Well, thank you so much for that. We have a few minutes to go, and I'd love to hear from everyone. Tammy has been so gracious, but let me know in the chat, what did you learn? What did you discover? What was helpful? What did you learn today that you never knew before? And what did you appreciate? So, Dr. Tammy, again, I want to say thank you so much for joining me today. This has been absolutely amazing. I mean, I knew it was going to be amazing, but I'm still blown away. And I'm really grateful for your insight and for everything you've shared. So, where can people find you, and what are you up to right now that people can also follow?
Right here, LinkedIn. You can follow me here. My handle's on the screen. I'm Dr. Tammy Francis everywhere, whether you're Instagram, X, used to be Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, wherever you are. I'm Dr. Tammy Francis everywhere. That's where you can find me. And I typically post things and educational opportunities. I'm involved in several organizations that are offering opportunities to learn other things, not necessarily AI at the moment, but that are offering some things, and or just started offering AI. So I will be posting some of those in the comments. And so I'm always sharing information that can help you grow and learn. And so, and or opportunities to join me live, whether I'm interviewing someone or being interviewed. So yeah, you can find me everywhere, Dr. Tammy Francis.
Well, thank you so much. I like that you're easy to find. And please follow Dr. Tammy Francis. Follow me at Adaeze Iloeje-Udeogalanya on LinkedIn. We are both on LinkedIn. And follow African Women in STEM on LinkedIn as well. I hope you enjoyed today. So our next edition of Lunch with Leaders is going to be on Friday, November. Oh my God, I should have checked this day before I got on here. The last Friday in November, and I'm going to put up the notice, and I'll look forward to seeing all of you there. And I'm also going to bring a very interesting topic around transitions, in life, in your career, and all of that. So thank you, Dr. Tammy, and thank you everyone who joined us today, and those that are going to be listening to the replay. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Bye.
Yeah, have a great weekend.